Do you know that at least 85% of the global population has experienced weather events made worse by climate change? Hawaii's weather pattern is changing too, and food security is at stake. We still import nearly 90% of our food. We call for your kuleana, your responsibility to take action. We can do. Grow food in the garden and create food forests. Make wise choices in the grocery store. Choose sustainable building material and remind yourself daily that you act on behalf of our grandchildren's future. We are only as strong as our aina, the land. So let's stop extracting from the earth. Let's help nature restore herself. Join us in this educational series of modern and ancient techniques of regenerative living and agriculture. Okay, today we are going to do something exciting. As you can see, this is our garden from last year and it's ready to prepare again for the new beds. And as you can see, this is a beautiful, healthy soil, and it's very important that we give the right amendments. Now, next step is going to show you what does our soil need in order to thrive and be happy. So here we are speaking with Shar O'Brien, which is a specialist in soil, and that's important what we are doing. And so Shar, please explain us a little bit why we have to do that in order to get healthy food and nutrients-rich food.
So once a year we put our basic nutrients in the soil, things like soft rock phosphate, green sand, Epsom salt, those sorts of baseline things that give us our calcium and magnesium and sulfur and that sort of thing. And we do it once a year so that the bacteria can then break them down into usable forms of nutrients for the plant.
And we're going to show now as a next segment how we mix up a really nice cocktail for our precious earth.
And let me just also say that we're not using typical fertilizers. We're not using chemical fertilizers. We're using organic, natural, regenerative fertilizers. So basically just rocks, rock dust, that sort of thing. Trace minerals, C90, which is a very interesting, rather modern invention to take the salt out of seawater, and then you're left with 90 minerals, 90 trace minerals, so that there's everything the microbiome might need to thrive.
Yeah, I think that's important that you are distinguish between fertilizer, because in the Western world or so, fertilizer can be quite toxic, as we know.
It's toxic to the bacteria, and that's what you don't want to do. You want to encourage the bacteria, not kill them.
Right, and so therefore we are glad we're going to go to the next segment then. Here you're seeing the Cadillac version of nutrients for our lovely aina, our garden. If you're starting a bed from scratch, you definitely need about 30% of organic roots, earth, compost. And then you have as much you can afford. The worm gold is phenomenal, and some nutrients here. Green sand and the calcium and the, what's this one in here?
C90.
C90, human,
Humic acid.
Perfect blend, nitrogen,
Not the perfect blend.
azomite,
Soft rock phosphate,
bone meal.
bone meal, Epsom salt.
So here you see that's the mixing station. All of the goodies
Floor.
are, most of it in. You know, we measured it all out, and everything will be nicely
Okay.
mixed up.
Cups of the black bag. 2 of that.
2 humics,
Yeah. Is it brown or is it humic? Dry humic acid. 2 cups. Next we have 1 cup of Epsom salt. It's already in there. 3 cups of azomite. And after that we have 2 cups of the green sand.
green
which is
sand.
right here, right. Yeah, and then 1.5 of the gypsum, and that'll be it.
All right.
Perfect.
So 1.5 of that. And then 2 of the C90. Which is the trace minerals or the dirt.
Roll up.
You want to get a really nice consistency, everything mixed together. Also break down any clumps that you found.
Massage. Dirt. We used just the soil that we had, and we mixed about 30% compost into that soil. And then on top of that, we put as much earthworm castings as you can possibly afford. You can't go wrong with earthworm castings. And we used our special mineral mix, which we will tell you about below, in the soil. So now the soil's totally ready, should be fertile for about another year. We're going to plant our plants as biodiversely as possible. Like, we're not going to make rows of things. We're going to just mix up everything, and we're going to use a little fish fertilizer. This is made over in Oahu. Dried fish meal for a little extra boost for the plants. After we got the soil mixed, we watered it down heavily. So we got it really nice and wet, and then we covered it with our mulch so that it will retain moisture, because this wind out here on the ocean just dries things out. So we want to keep a nice mulch layer. It's this time of the year anyways. It also goes along with the 5 principles of regenerative agriculture that you always keep your soil covered, particularly in the tropics. It's particularly important because the sun just kills the bacteria if they're exposed. When you think about how things grow in the forest, they're close, right? They're not worried about their borders or how much space they have. They naturally select their space. Whenever you buy little plants, there's going to be several plants in each cell. You can do it 2 ways. You can try to pull them each apart and plant each individual little plant. Very frugal. That might be Swiss. But what I like to do is I just plant the entire cell. And then in about a week or so after it's kind of gotten its strength back, I come back and I thin it. I thin it down to just that 1 or 2 plants. And maybe I'll thin it down to 2, and then another week I'll thin it down to 1. Just because I want to give it some strength before I start tearing it out of the ground. That's my room.
Soil is not our property. It has come to us as a legacy, and we must pass it on to future generations. Climate change is here. Now we must learn how to live with it. Do you want to be part of the solution? If our educational series of regenerative living and ancient wisdom inspired you, stay tuned for more. Education brings change. Your donation to Food Security Hawaii helps revitalize the earth, inspires people to grow their own food, and empowers our community with self-sufficiency. Mahalo.